So if you're interested in hearing my opinion of some of the worst businesses to start that a lot of dudes get like super excited about and think, yeah, I'm going to do that, right? You're going to love today's video. Now, if you're one of those dudes that was like, yeah, I'm going to start that, then you're not going to like this video. But the good news is that I may save you a lot of headache and a bad business. But I'm also going to share with you some pro tips in terms of if you decide to go down these business rabbit holes. I want to share with you some strategies that you can use to actually give yourself the best shot of success. All right. Number one is apparel. And I'm just going to start there because, well, a lot of dudes, a lot of women, a lot of people think I would love to sell apparel. And in my opinion, this is one of the worst businesses you can go into for a few reasons. Number one, inventory. The requirements for inventory is high. One of the big mistakes that a lot of people make is that they think, okay, when I start an apparel company, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come out with 6 different shirts. You're going to need like 5 or 6 different sizes in each shirt. I'm going to have 3 different colors of this shirt. I'm going to come out with 2 pairs of shorts, 3 pairs of pants, and all of a sudden you have a crazy amount of money and capital tied up into this inventory that you don't know whether or not you're going to be able to move it or not, because that's the thing. All right. Inventory when it comes to apparel is one of the things that kills businesses, because you got to remember, right? If you've got inventory sitting on your shelves that isn't moving, it's dead dollar bills. Until you actually sell it, you can't recoup your capital. It literally is dead and sitting there. And in your mind, when you're starting an apparel company, you think, I need a big selection, which is one of the things and reasons why a lot of people fail. You need to pare it down. I'm going to give you an example of 2 companies that I can think of off the top that did a great job with launching with a single product, all right? Number one is the company Cuts, all right? Now, when Cuts launched, you guys probably don't remember this, they started with a single t-shirt, all right? And the whole idea was that they were going to try to basically really perfect the t-shirt. And then over the years, once they actually got some traction and started to grow and figured out their whole customer acquisition game and they had a built-in customer base, then they started adding, right? After t-shirts, it was Henleys. And then like it just kept adding. Now Cuts has like a gazillion different products, but this is also one of the big Achilles heels to the apparel industry. If you don't sell it, or if you're selling something that is seasonal, or if you've got a bunch of XXX large sizes that you never move, you literally are never going to sell it, and you've burnt money. Which brings me to the second reason I'm not really wild about apparel, and that is a lot of it is seasonal, right? And so if you're coming out with a collection that's like for like fall and you've got like hoodies and sweatshirts and things like that, once the season changes, what are you going to do? You've got this inventory. And then the other problem is that typically annually your color palettes are going to change. You're going to want to add different styles. You're going to want to discontinue others. But all the inventory that you didn't sell through is literally wasted. You are never going to sell that inventory, right? Which is one of the other problems with apparel. It is very seasonal and it does require you to hold a lot of inventory. Another business that did a great job really honing in on one product and perfecting it and then growing a business based on this one product was called Public Rec. Right, Public Rec is another company that basically started with a single product. It was a pair of black pants that were basically like a cross between like athletic and dressy. They were kind of like the first like athleisure, like casual pant, right? You could dress them up, you could dress them down. They had that one SKU for years, and they really just hammered home and started to really grind that one SKU. And they built a business, they built data, and then they grew from there. But it really is limiting the risk when you actually stick to 1 or 2 products as opposed to trying to go wide. When it comes to apparel, if you're wanting to start that business, go deep, not wide. Go deep versus wide. What does this mean? That means really focus and do one thing really well as opposed to trying to do a bunch of things. As you grow, as you build an email list, as you build your brand, then you can go into other things. And that's one of the things that a lot of these companies do that are successful, right? They launch with one product, and then over time, as they grow, they basically will get a feel for what their customers want, what they're interested in, and then they'll be able to add things, right? Because one of the ways that you're going to increase your customer lifetime value is by adding additional things that they can buy. One of the downsides to starting with a single product is that you're only going to sell one of them, right? Meaning like if you sell a t-shirt or a hoodie, right, you get a customer to buy it, If you don't have anything else for them to buy, that's it. You're not going to come back and buy a second one, which is another problem with the apparel industry. The other problem with the apparel industry, in my opinion, is that it's not consumable. Consumable products, something that you use and then have to rebuy to replenish, like moisturizers, hair products, body washes, fragrances, in my opinion, that is another downside to apparel, is that people aren't using it up. It's basically going to last for years. Which brings me to the next problem with apparel, and that is sizing, right? Even though you have tried to really nail down the fit, and you've given everybody all the measurements, and you've got a portal that basically will scan their body and tell them exactly what size they want and that they need, you never are going to get it right. And the other thing is that with a customer, they might just not like it. They might just not like the fit. And so if you're offering free shipping, which is expensive, right? They get it, they don't love it, you offer them a free return, all of a sudden now you're out the cost of shipping both ways, which could literally be $10, $20, $30. And now you've got a product, if they didn't keep it and they send it back, that you've got to figure out what to do with it. How are you going to sell it again? Because unfortunately, even though you think, oh, I'm going to resell it, a lot of times that is an issue. And so returns is one of the other Achilles heels of the apparel business. All right, and managing that's also another nightmare. Customer service is a nightmare. If somebody gets something, they don't like it, or it doesn't fit, or something else happens, you've got to manage it, you've got to deal with it. And shipping, like I said, is one of the unsexy big line items that regardless of what you're shipping or what you're selling, you've got to pay attention to, which is one of the other reasons why if you are shipping something that is heavy, like big, like heavy, this is also something that I personally would never get into because shipping is the devil. But a few other pro tips I'd like to give you about starting an apparel business if that is something that you want to, all right? All right, but before I get to that, I do want to just recommend, if you like this type of information, you got to join the White Label Empire because we are blowing up and we are creating millionaires in there. And the whole reason and the thought behind this video is because last week we were having a live stream with my buddy Eric Van Holtz over at Beard Brand, and we started talking. There were some people coming on and asking questions about, hey, I want to start this business. What do you think? And we basically, our job there is to help direct people the best that we can. And unfortunately, you know, we probably broke a lot of hearts. But the truth is that we have more experience than most people that are starting a business. When you start a business, a lot of times you think, oh, this is going to be great, right? But then you don't have people that have enough experience or knowledge behind you to give you advice or feedback that's actually going to be valuable other than like, great job, Billy, that sounds amazing. Oh, Moroccan beard oil that's like infused with gold? Yes, that sounds incredible. You should do it, right? And then 6 months later, you're like, why didn't I sell any? When the truth is, if you would have had better people that were around you that actually had experience in business, directing you and advising you and giving you feedback to help you, you would have avoided that mistake. And so anyway, if you haven't joined the White Label Empire, we are blowing up, and that community is the best thing I've ever done. If you're somebody that wants to start a business, even if you don't know what product you want to start now, right? I want you to join because we are doing some amazing things and the community is evolving and we are incredible. And I'm just gonna toot my own horn. It is the best thing I've ever done, and I am so proud of the people that are starting businesses. We've already actually, hang on. Check it out. I'm like a proud papa, right? One of our businesses just launched. It's called Cosmo Coffee, right? It is so badass. The coffee is amazing. One of our businesses. Guys, we are launching businesses. We are blowing up. Cosmo Coffee, I am so pumped about this business. It's one of our friends, Keith. He started this business. It's got a great story. The whole story behind Cosmo Coffee is incredible. 20% of all proceeds goes to no-kill shelters for dogs. It's really just an incredible story. It's an incredible product, incredible brand, and incredible coffee that we at the White Label Empire have just helped launch. Guys, if you want to hit that link down below, go check out Cosmo Coffee. There is going to be a discount code. Hopefully, I got to ask Keith if he'll give us one. But either way, they're doing some amazing things, and so are we at the White Label Empire. Guys, do not wait. Now is the time. Take control of your life and do something amazing. Join down below. Guys, do not wait because I'm telling you, the sooner you start, the sooner you jump, the sooner you try to do something incredible, the closer you're going to be to realizing your potential. Guys, entrepreneurship, it's not for everybody, but if it's for you and you're willing to put in the time, put in the work, it is going to change your life. So if I haven't scared you away from starting an apparel business yet, a few other tips I'd like to give you, all right? Like we said, number one, start like with 1 or 2 items and go deep as opposed to wide with a bunch of different SKUs, bunch of different stuff. You got to test the market, all right? The next thing I got to talk about is audience, right? Because this is one of the things that really is going to separate a lot of brands from others, right? If you can build and facilitate an audience or a consumer base prior to launching, this is one of the best things you can do to actually really drive sales, all right? If you're an influencer, if you're somebody that wants to start a YouTube channel, an Instagram account, or whatever, and you can build that up, that is one of the ways to kind of like hack the system, because your audience is going to trust you. They're going to buy pretty much whatever you sell as long as that product meets their expectations. And that's the next thing I just got to say. If you are selling anything and it's not like high quality or you wouldn't buy it yourself, you should not be promoting it and you should not be selling it, because it's going to show. You got to believe in whatever you're selling. And if you've got or build a big audience, like I said, that's a way to hack the system. Doing drops, right? Limited time drops. Another thing and strategy that is incredibly effective, and that really plays on the psychology. Now, for me, as a business owner, I don't like the idea of not being able to sell things like year round. Like if somebody comes on a Tuesday in July, I want them to be able to buy my product. Well, the whole drop culture, basically hype, 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 hype. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Get on the email list. Don't miss out. Here's the discount. It's going to sell out. It's going to sell out. And then bang, they drop it. They've got an email list. They say, yo, we're open. And boom, they start selling a ton. But then at some point, they shut it down. They shut it down, meaning like you can't buy it. Even if they got a little bit of inventory, they're going to shut it down. Why? Because the whole idea is if you start doing this and people realize, oh shit, like I know that they're going to sell out, or I want to grab it and I can't because it's closed down. Next time that drop is going to be a little bit bigger. You're going to have more excitement, more activity. It's all about building the hype. All right. A lot of successful businesses have started this way, right? Alpha Elite, Christian Guzman, it was all about the seasonal drop. And when he would drop, boom, he'd sell out, right? Max Tuning, he did, Ever Forward Apparel. It's the drop. You know, Jose Zuniga, he would do the drop. Like a lot of these companies and brands do these drops, but typically it does have they do have a large audience or a large following. Now, in my opinion, I think this is a way that you can sell, but you also need to make sure that you don't overorder. All right, it's better in this scenario to sell out and not have inventory and wait for the next one to really build that hype, build that excitement, build that anticipation, as opposed to basically having a bunch of inventory and having this drop basically like last forever because you've got 50 XX larges and 3 smalls and 2 extra smalls and green and pink and 5 blue. You don't want to keep it open just to try to move through your inventory. So you got to understand that when it comes to apparel, you are going to have to sacrifice some of this inventory. The other thing you can do, if you are seeing that certain things aren't moving as well, you can discount specific items, or you can have like a flash sale. This is something that is effective. Whenever you see a company go, hey, 50% off, limited time on these select styles, or they'll do something where it's like up to 70% off. Well, if you go to their website, all their popular products, they're not actually discounted. It's only the products that they've got way too much of, or they made a mistake in ordering. You got to understand, like I said, if you're ordering it and it doesn't sell, you have just lost money. The second business I want to talk about is sunglasses. Another business that a lot of dudes are like, yo, sunglasses are sick. They're awesome. I want to start a sunglass brand, right? I know. I've been there. Got the t-shirt. Actually, I got the sunglasses. They're called Enemy. Now, some of you are going to be like, yeah, it's just because you failed at it. Well, think about that for a second. Think about that just for a second. All right. If I couldn't figure this out, and I have a big audience, I've got a lot of customers, I've got, a big social media presence and following. If I couldn't figure this out, and when I say figuring it out, it really boils down to, can you figure out the cold acquisition game? All right? If you're an influencer and you've got something to sell, you're going to be able to sell it. But that's not what it's about ultimately. One of the things that you need to understand is that if it is relying on you as a person or an individual to sell anything, you are limited and you're capped in terms of your earning potential. All right. As long as I was the person that always needed to be pitching and selling Tiege Hanley, we were going to be capped at what my potential and my audience was going to bear. If I was the only reason why people bought Pete and Pedro grooming products, we were capped. We were limited. The key and trick to any business that you're going to start is to figure out the acquisition game that does not require a single person to be a spokesperson or to sell that product. Does that make sense? You've got to understand that it's about figuring out how to convert traffic using dollar bills and being able to sell them based on an ad at a low enough customer acquisition cost that you still make a profit, all right? Because that's it. It's about a profit. If you're just selling, right, and you're not basically making money, right, you're going to go out of business. It's not a sustainable model, right? A lot of these big businesses that were just acquiring customers at this huge amount, right, and they never figured out how to basically add like any type of like auxiliary like value or have them buy other things or increase their LTV, which stands for lifetime value, they go out of business because you cannot sustain a business where it's too expensive to acquire a customer. Back to sunglasses. Another business that a lot of people get all like excited about, right? Because it's sexy and it's cool and people like sunglasses. I couldn't figure it out. Now, did I sell a few $1 million worth of sunglasses? Yes. To who? My audience. Well, that wasn't the game. That was never the game. My idea was to build a brand. And a brand does not require one person to sell it. And so what did I do? I basically retooled it. I tried to figure out that acquisition game. I also made mistakes, critical mistakes in developing this brand, all right? The sunglasses were great, but the quality was too high for the price that I was charging, which is going to bring me to another type of business we're going to talk about in a second. If you're selling the product too low and you don't have enough margin in there in order to facilitate a valuable acquisition, meaning a valuable customer, meaning that you're acquiring them, they're buying your product, and you still have money after you paid for your product, not to mention the advertising or the cost to actually acquire them, you are never going to move the needle. And why are you doing this to make $1 per pair of sunglasses? In order to really scale that, you're going to have to sell millions of sunglasses in order to basically make a few $1 million. It just doesn't make sense. And so one thing you got to understand with sunglasses, it is competitive. It is super, super, super competitive. I didn't realize how competitive it was when I started the business. I also was naive. I didn't realize that. What did I not realize? I didn't realize a lot of things with this brand. I was almost blinded by some of my other successes, thinking that, okay, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to be able to scale it. I'm going to basically try to offer this at an incredible price and give them high value and do this and do that. I wasn't prepared for what this was going to require. Now, if I'm being honest with myself, do I think I could do this again and better and actually make it successful? Maybe. But I'm not confident in that because I've tried. I've tried to do the ads. I've tried to do the cold converting, advertisements, and it is hard because the competition is fierce and it's a tough industry. I'm just saying, sunglasses are one of the most competitive, hard businesses out there, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. What I would focus on is increasing your perceived value, which brings me to the third type of business you shouldn't try to start. And that is any business that you are trying to compete on price. It is a losing battle, period. All right? One of the big mistakes that a lot of companies make, they'll make a product, it'll be a great product, but then they will try to compete with the market. And they will compete solely on the price. And they think, okay, if I can offer a better product for a lower price, then I'm going to win, right? That makes sense. Well, it kind of makes sense, but your margins are like this, and you're never going to make any money, right? Which is a problem. Now, this goes for everything. This goes for beard oil. This goes for apparel. This goes for sunglasses. It goes for wallets. It goes for anything, right? Competing on price is a race to the bottom, period. All right? And so, what can you do? And this brings me to one of the things that you need to hear and you need to understand, and that is perceived value. All right? What can you do for your business that is going to increase the perceived value for whatever you're selling? All right? Personally, I would rather be at the upper end of whatever I'm selling as opposed to the bottom. Because if you're up there, right, you're going to have the perception of other people that your product is superior based solely on the price point. Think about that, right? If you see two pairs of white sneakers, you don't know the brand. One pair is priced at $79, another price is at like $350. Which pair of sneakers do you think is going to be the better, higher quality pair of sneakers? Exactly, this one, even if they're made at the exact same factory, from the exact same materials, because this product positioned them as a premium luxury brand, and this one tried to compete on price. Anything you can do to increase the perceived value is going to be in your benefit. And this goes for any business, any company, right? The higher you can make it look, the more luxurious, the more high-end, the more premium, the better the experience, the better off you're going to be. It's about setting an expectation of high-end luxury. Now, if it's priced affordably, I'm not saying like low, but fairly, right? And you're giving them all the reasons why, oh my God, these sunglasses are the best. They're Zeiss lenses. They should cost literally like $700, and I'm only going to charge $250 because that's honestly the price that these sunglasses at Enemy should have been. But I tried to compete on price with other companies, and I charged $95. I didn't have the margin, because the other thing you got to realize is that to get the products shipped to you from overseas, it costs money. And all that money, you got to divide it by the number of units, and that's going to the cost of each specific unit, all right? The higher that cost, the less margin you're going to have. You got to figure it out. Now, as a general rule, what I like to tell people is 4 times, right? Minimum. If you get a product and you're making a product and say it's $20 to make, you should minimum be charging or multiplying by 4, and that's what your minimum retail price should be, right? So a $20 product should be $80, right? Now, is that enough? Knowing what I know now, I'd probably say 5 times, right? Because 5 times is going to give you more margin to wiggle with, right? If you're going to offer incentives, if you're going to be discounting or whatever, which brings me to the next thing I just want to mention, all right? There are other ways to basically give deals and incentives and facilitate the psychological impact of a deal as opposed to just giving a discount percentage, right? One of the big mistakes that a lot of companies make, they're like, oh, 20% off. Then your customers get used to 20%, and then it's, to move the needle, I got to go 25%, 30%, 40%, right? And guess what happens? Your margin just starts shrinking, and you're racing to the bottom. Instead, a great example of that is Brio, right? The Brio Beardscape, right, is a $100 product, right? But instead of giving a discount, they offer the Zero Blade, right? It's for free. They're giving it away for free if you buy their product, which is a $25 value. So in your head, you're basically getting something of great value for a great price, right? You're just buying this and you're getting this for free. Well, the truth is, think about it. If they sold something for $100 and they were giving you $25 right off, that's a 25% discount. You're losing $25 off the top. Instead, if they're giving you something of $25 value, what's the cost of that? Maybe $5, right? You think or you perceive it to be $25, but they've only lost $5. And so now, instead of making $75 on that product, you're making $95. It's all about the perceived value. How can you build value without giving away margin? Anyway, I could literally talk about this for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, which is why the White Label Empire, every Thursday, we have a 2-hour live coaching call where you guys are there and we're in there and I'm talking, I'm coaching for an hour. And then sometimes we'll have a guest come in to give advice. And then we open it up for business questions. Anyway, if you guys haven't joined the White Label Empire and you dig this type of information, you got to join, because truly it is changing people's lives and we are building millionaires in there. But you got to take action, all right? Success favors the bold. Success favors the people that are willing to take control of their destiny in their life and do something amazing. Now, this video, I don't want to scare you. I just want to educate you, because the truth is there's nothing that takes the fun out of business like being broke, right? And if you think and you didn't have people around you, or you didn't think about some of the potential risks going into a business ahead of time, it makes it a lot more painful and less enjoyable. I have learned all these lessons the hard way, every single lesson. And the truth is, the more you expose yourself to people that have been there, done that, had successes, but also the failures, this is the thing that actually moves the needle in terms of knowledge. You got to fail, you got to try, and then you learn, and you got to listen. You got to be smart enough to educate yourself and not think that you're smarter than all these people that have been there and tried it and done it. Gentlemen, you are amazing, but in my opinion, these are some businesses I wouldn't touch.